Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of our Safe Harbor live series. Today we are talking about the recovery of shame. And as always, we have our captain here. Hi, Kath.
Hi, everybody.
And I am Kirsten, first mate of marketing at Safe Harbor. So let's dive right in. Before we do this, we had, after our last session, we had a comment saying that it's really hard to find more information and help when you are in need. And we chatted about this, Kath, earlier, and you mentioned that there is a new website coming out pretty soon. Where people again can get more help depending on what they're looking for. Is there anything else what people can do when they need help or need to find more information?
Yep, you bet. And there are, like, as you mentioned, Kirsten, there is a new website coming that's going to focus on the province of Alberta and all of the harm reduction and recovery services, detox treatment, everything's going to be listed in there. It's going to have all of that information, and I know it's really close to being finished. So, of course, we'll make sure that website gets out on our web page and share it here too, probably. So that's coming. And then, as always, you can always contact Alberta Health Services, Addiction Mental Health in the provincial building, and they have all of the information in regards to programs and services, that sort of thing. You can Google it, you can check things out online. Yeah, we did discover that that was difficult for people to do, and hence all the work that's been going into developing a new website to combat that. So it's coming soon, and hopefully it helps. You can also call Safe Harbor, and we have people answering the phones 24/7. So sometimes we can help too, maybe not with our services, but certainly with information and support. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you, Kath.
things are going to get better that way.
Yeah. Thank you. So, and we will also talk in another session about the community help that is available here within the different agencies that we have. That is also a great topic that we will tackle at another episode. So today, let's take a look at the recovery of shame. As the two of us said earlier, we can't talk about addiction without talking about shame. So first I thought, well, the shame is just with the person that is using substances and is addicted. But really, when we talk, it's really about that it's not just this one person, it's actually the family that has also shame around this. And this is really really dangerous because it prevents people from helping. So let's chat about this, like the two, like what are they going through and what do we need to understand when it comes to shame and addiction?
Well, and yes, shame and addiction currently go hand in hand, and it would be lovely to be able to change that. And I'm hoping someday we will be able to. But currently, we know that shame kills people. It prevents them from getting up another day or telling their truths totally. They're ashamed of what they've been doing. They're, or they're ashamed to be in this situation. And all of it, if we could move past that stigma that this is something to be ashamed of, it could be 100% preventable, that shame, right? And yeah. Now, as we talked before, there's a continuum to addiction, and just because you use substances doesn't mean you're addicted or that you're going to feel shame. You're only going to start to feel that if your life has gotten to the place where you're doing things you don't feel good about anymore, and that shame, right? So for the person who's, if I thought right now, let's say I had a daughter who was addicted, and I've just been struggling with that for the last couple of years and been trying to support her, and that's not working. And now she's out on the street because nobody can house her anymore. She doesn't pay the rent or whatever it might be, and she doesn't want to go to treatment right now. Then when I'm on Facebook or reading anything in the paper about the population of people that we have living on our streets and the things that they're doing in their lifestyle, you know, the burden of shame that we use in our language and in our stories that are expressing those frustrations or whatever, you know, people are being ostracized. They're being blamed for everything. They're shamed. They're disgust. People talk about them with disgust. And why worry about a shelter for him? Let him overdose and die. You know, like, to read these things is like, whoa. And so what if I'm reading that? And that I'm imagining my daughter there. And how is that? I know that if it wasn't for what the substance that my kid was using that did all this stuff, that this is not the life my kid would be in, you know? So it's not about the substance, but how did she get in that place, as we know? And what does she feel like? How ashamed you must be, right? So then when all of the rhetoric and media and government strategies, funding is all about recovery, and she's not there yet. Many aren't there yet. Many won't get there.
So
yeah.
that gives me, right now that you say that, and I haven't thought about this earlier, when we talk about all the money goes to recovery and I'm not there yet, does it mean I'm worth less? And does it mean nobody needs to help me where I am right now? And what does it mean for my family members? Like you said, the mom that reads maybe on social media, let them all die, like who cares? So what would that make the mom do or not do? Like, would she maybe, I mean, I could imagine I feel ashamed for my kid and I won't reach out because maybe I have questions, but I don't know where to look. And because I'm afraid that somebody would, it's like an outing. I say something and then it's out and I feel the shame that my daughter maybe has.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm not reaching out. So is that what you mean with it can kill people?
Yes. It is like that, because for the person who's addicted, if that level of shame is so big that they can't lift their head up above it, yeah, and it doesn't need to be there. For that mom, who am I talking to, and how much, you know, what, first of all, where am I? I've just been forced to live in this world that I don't know sweet tweet about, and my kid's living there, and I am, where am I and what's going on? And holy doodle, I'm scared, I'm worried, I'm imagining, my imaginings are horrible, and I'm in this extreme amount of stress, and so is my husband, and so are my daughter's siblings and her aunts and uncles, or anybody that might know about it, right? Everybody's like, holy, right? So you have that incredible amount of stress and tension and worry, and angst, and what are we doing with that? And who can we debrief that stuff with? Who can we throw that up with where it's safe? Because when it, so Go ahead.
So what can we do then if I know that? How can we help those people, those families that need that
Yeah.
help? How can we open up and help them to not be ashamed? I don't know. Is it even possible? Like, how can we? What can we do? And I also, like you mentioned the story that you shared earlier with me with the two moms,
Yeah.
and
And
how
that's a
and
good, yeah,
yeah.
that's a good example on how we can help, or how, and we have to do that by opening up our minds and being mindful about
Mhm.
this is the environment that's being created by this stigma filled language. Okay. So let's say we have two moms, and one mom has lost a daughter to cancer, and everyone was around that mom and supporting her and loving her up. And of course, all through everything, and lots of love and support after. And everything was provided for, no question, health wise. Okay. That daughter could get everything she needed for as long as they could have her, but she died. And the mom is surrounded by love all the way through it. The family is. Okay. Then we have another mom who has just lost a daughter to addiction, and she's been living on the streets and homeless. And in order to get her drugs, she's been doing the sex trade, um, whatever it might be. She's over here in this other world, right? From the moment and all the time beforehand, as the mom is dealing with all of this new world, just like the new world of cancer for the other mom, here's another new world, and it operates a whole hell of a lot differently. This might be your kid, but now she's this. She's an addict. And if she's going to keep using, does she deserve medical treatment all the way? Like, which is really interesting. Okay. Really
Mhm.
interesting, because that's alive and well. Because there's this complicated idea of choice, what looks to be to us like choice. They're choosing to do this, therefore they should pay the consequences, right? And we're not going to treat them until they stop using,
Mhm.
right? Except we don't do that with other people. We don't do that for heart attack people and tell them you have to quit eating fatty foods before we operate on you.
Yeah.
Or with the buddy who chose to jump out of the airplane and crashed up his body, we don't say to him, you can't have any drugs because you chose to jump out of the airplane, right? So there's this idea of choice that gets mixed up in here. And when I'm the mom with that addicted kid, um, I am very careful at the beginning who I tell my story to. There's very few. Actually, it's a very tight, closed story. I am not getting that love and support from everybody because I'm not asking for it, because I'm ashamed of this story. And I've been told I need to be,
Mhm.
because like what
Mhm.
happened here? Could this be my fault? What about that? Is this all my fault because I wasn't a good mom?
Mhm.
What happened? Blah, blah. So that circle of support is minimal at best. Even if I do tell some of my friends, I'm not telling them everything, because everything is too much and it's gross and I'm going to get judged for this. Whereas if it's the cancer lady and says all of her things, even if they're hard and stuff, because we can all, our level of sympathy and compassion stays constant. If the mom tells all the story, then people might start looking at this weird, and that level is going to change, right?
Mhm.
And people also, this is not because people aren't wonderful people that want to help that mom. This is internalizing from the mom who's freaked out and scared and ashamed and blah, blah. And she's ashamed that she's ashamed,
Yeah.
right? Like you're ashamed that you're ashamed. Like, holy doodle. What is this? This is my kid. I could never be ashamed of my kid. Like they're just messed right up right now. But this is her, you know? And so that idea of shame, if we can rise, I want to say rise above it. No. Um, what's required is for us on our personal level with our small circles of friends, if your spidey sense is tingling and thinking your friend might have something going on at home, you know, try and be that safe spot for that debrief. That's what we can do on a small scale, you know. That takes time and trust.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out, get educated, you know, always get educated. And that's that shame is due to years of old beliefs and myths about addiction and alcoholism and stuff. When you think about AA, the organization Alcoholics Anonymous, they were anonymous. They are anonymous for good reason, because people couldn't know that they had this alcoholism, or they'd be judged, or maybe lose their job, or whatever it might be, right? And still they are, right?
Yeah.
And we know, when we even think about mental health and how important it is to get people to talk about and to open up. And I don't know, I've been thinking about that lately with AA. I thought it would be kind of cool if they didn't have to be anonymous anymore. And that would really, I think, help shed some of this stigma, you know, and those people who are in AA might have something to say to me about that. Like, shut up, Hoffman, what do you know? But which is fair. But I wondered about that. And I was going to talk to some people that I know that are longtime AA guys and just ask them about that. Like, what do you guys think? Wouldn't that be saying, hey, we don't have to be anonymous anymore. We're not ashamed of this, or we're not, you know, if you're going to, you know, maybe, I don't know.
I think also when there was less shame, that more people would come up and share their stories of recovery and hope. And that then helps others to see, okay, they have been in the same position and I can do it too. Not just the people that are addicted, but also the family, the moms, the fathers, the daughters, uncles.
Do it kind of publicly, because certainly that's the intent of their meetings, right? When they have new people. And that's what they do best, is build relationship and connection with people who desperately need it, right? So they're telling their stories in those meetings, but still under that cover of, you know, when AA was built up under principles that, you know, they're not going to advertise, they're not, you know, they weren't doing this to make money, they were just, you know, trying to be all with great intentions and purpose, right? So it's not about that as much as, for me, when I think about it, it's about just kind of shedding that skin of, oh, you know what? We're loud and we're proud, or whatever it is. I don't know, but something like that. But I might be missing a piece on that too. But for us as a, you know, so individually in our small circles, we can try and make open spaces for people. Check in with people if your spidey sense is tingling. Just kind of be there quietly to support those friends, and they'll know and sense that your space is genuine. But as a broader way of thinking, we have to, well, what will happen is that we're going to become ashamed ourselves, actually. And I'm really looking forward to this, because and I'm as guilty as anybody for my old beliefs and things. But where we are in brain science now is so cool. Like, it is so cool. And it uses a whole bunch of science words that I don't always get, but I am just fascinated with.
Okay, tell us more.
And even in the last 5 years, right? Like, they have made leaps and bounds in the brain in the last 10 years. And of course, all of our technology has enabled that, right? To do that. But man, it's exciting. Like, they're just finding out so much more about how these things work and what happens when they don't. And I just know that there is going to be the evidence that we need to get rid of this idea of shame. And it's going to come through us through brain science, because they're going to end up saying to us, like, I learned about these things called microglial cells in this great little book called The Angel and the Assassin. If you ever want to read a cool little book by Donna Jackson.
We will share that in
Yeah.
the comments.
But it's fascinating. And this is just 5-year-old research, right? And this little brain cell, in a nutshell, they thought its purpose was just kind of like a little garbage cleaner to go in and clean up like little dead neurons or whatever and clean it up. But now they found, they can also clean up too much. They can kind of not work properly. And then they end up taking too much. And so if they're taking too much up here in this prefrontal cortex where our executive functioning lives and our impulse control and so many things that are related to addiction, right? Like, and so then they were so excited that they found these things and then they can know how to fix them too. So what if it's not that Buddy won't stop, but really, truly he can't? Because things are not firing right. And if you have a brain where things aren't firing right and you have an addiction to substances, what are they doing up here?
Yes.
Especially substances like meth or, so it is exciting. And I know it's going to provide the evidence we need for as a big group of people to really start to eat at that massive envelope of shame that surrounds this whole concept of addiction. And I hope I'm not dead before it happens. If I get dead, I'm going to ask God if I can come back and see it.
Well, before that happens, we will have a few episodes and we can share.
Very good.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kath. And we would like to share like the books and resources that you just mentioned. And we will do that.
Here it is.
There it is. What is it called? The Angel and the
Angel and the Assassin by Donna Jackson Nakazawa or Nakazawa.
Awesome.
The Angel and the Assassin. Just a nice little read, you guys, and it is fascinating.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing, Kath.
So this is
steady as she goes. We will see you guys next week again. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, as always, please put it in the comments and we will see each other again.
Keep shining your lights.
Keep shining your light. Steady as she goes.
Thanks.